We're live!
Woohoo! Well, welcome back. It's Friday night, and we are doing book chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Jen.
And tonight we are talking about Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia.
We say we're here tonight, but it just keeps staying lighter for longer.
That is a good point. It's pretty bright out. I will agree. Anyways, do you want to give us a synopsis first?
Yeah. In one sense, it's like a road trip with a death god.
Yeah.
But Cassiopeia lives on with her grandfather and some extended family, and they treat her like a servant. They are mean.
They're horrible. It's very Cinderella, even though she says she's not
Cinderella.
Cinderella.
Yeah, she's like, it's very Cinderella, but I'm not Cinderella.
Right.
And then there's this like old chest her grandfather keeps. It's kind of mysterious. Never opened it.
Chest.
Until she opens it, and there's bones inside. And she awakens a Mayan death god, and who's missing a finger, an eye, an ear.
Necklace.
Yeah, so then they go on a road trip to collect his body parts and restore him to his rightful throne after his brother took it.
Man, those brothers.
Yeah.
And it's set in 1920 in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, interesting story concept, interesting time period. So, What did you think about it?
I had a little bit more of mixed feelings about this one, because there were parts like the settings and colors and like characters you meet are very like vibrant and vivid, and I really loved some of those scenes. And then there was moments where I was like, I could feel myself falling out of the narrative and like it not holding my 100% attention. But the parts that it did, you're like really sucked in. So I feel more mixed on about it.
I completely agree with everything you said, actually. I felt the same way. Like, I don't know if it was the pacing wasn't as well done as maybe we've had in some of our other reads, but there were definitely moments where I was like, I'm definitely thinking about something else. What did I just read?
Yeah.
But then, like you said, then there were scenes that were just incredibly vivid, and you were so engaged. And I would have really liked more of that, and I'm not sure how she would have done that to her, like, I don't know how because I don't think that in
it's
some
not
respects you
book.
could. Yeah.
It's like a good book.
And you can't have like amazing dramatic spots the entire time.
Yeah, because you need that like tension, but then you need like
a decline,
the down moments to like process it all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. It didn't change your life though.
But it didn't change my life, yeah. Agree completely on that.
We are going to talk about spoilers, because there's stuff at the end we want to discuss.
As we tend to do.
Because the last, 60 pages, 40 pages?
Like 40-ish.
Yeah, it gets wild.
Yeah, I really kind of would have liked more of that, actually. That part we could have extended. Oh, there were a few scenes that I was like, I wish we could have just extended this bit a little bit more, and maybe if she had done a longer book or done it as like a duology, maybe that would have worked, because it's a quest narrative. And so you're going along until you have to like overcome some obstacle. And sometimes I felt like that kind of part could have been extended somehow.
Or the quest could have been more complicated.
Yeah.
They go from like city to city to city, getting like his ear and then a necklace and then his finger.
Yeah.
Or maybe you get the finger before the necklace.
You get the finger before the necklace, but
you
it's
get
fine.
the finger before the necklace. But they go city to city, and they like succeed at each one. So it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
For a quest narrative.
Yeah, because it's not even like, oh, we get here, we find the villain, but we don't get it. Like they get it pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And then they move on again.
Yeah.
And even when they're traveling, there weren't a lot of additional obstacles. Like, I guess you would kind of think you'd have more. I mean, he's a god, true, but he still didn't have any money, and like you'd think there'd been some.
Oh no, the demon gave him money.
He did.
He gets bankrupt by a demon.
Yeah, right. But yeah, they still had to get to the demon. Yeah. But he was faking the money but you also thought that maybe he would have, since he had been out of commission for centuries, had some like issues traveling or been confused. But no, he was totally on it.
Yeah.
So there just needed to maybe more obstacles. Yeah. Maybe we would have liked that.
Maybe if there was like a subplot of tension between them, like, because their dynamic isn't equal. Do you want to talk about their dynamic?
Yes.
Okay,
Let's
so
talk about their dynamic.
Their dynamic isn't equal because she opens the chest and gets a shard of bone stuck in her finger. So that, and then the contact of like her blood and his bone like resurrects him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like double-sided. He's slowly becoming more human as time passes because he's connected to her,
Which is bad.
Because he'll lose his divinity. She's dying.
Which is really bad.
Because her life force is like sustaining him and his magic.
Him. Mm-hmm. And keeping him going, basically.
Yeah, and like tethering him to this middle world, or the human, I think it's just like the human world.
It's the human world, yeah. And then to top it off, that's not enough. He expects her to like donate her hair and do all these other like things. 7 drops of blood. Sure, you're just dying. Keep giving me stuff.
Or it's like you have to be the one to talk in this scenario.
Oh yeah, you
or
have
like
to...
you're the bait. She's the bait at the first obstacle.
So she's the bait. She has to introduce him. Mm-hmm. Gives up the hair, the 7 drops of blood. Yeah, she does a lot for this guy.
So, yeah, and then this whole thing is like she gets benefits from this too, sort of. Like if she's injured, she heals.
Yeah.
So she can't like be bodily
heals,
harmed.
but is still dying.
Yeah, she can't be like, I don't know, can't get a paper cut.
Yeah. Yay.
What else is there? Oh, because he's slowly turning human, he has feelings like compassion. And yeah.
But going back to their dynamics, she tries to stand up for herself, and he's very like unwavered by these emotions, it seems like.
Yeah.
And it was very much still another servant almost position for this poor girl. Like, she just couldn't get out of it. And I don't know if saying and promising I'll give you black pearls at the end of this was quite enough.
Yeah, or I'll make like your heart's desire come true.
Right.
Or but like he doesn't necessarily like put her down the way her family members would.
No.
But it still kind of to me felt like on the surface there's respect, but your dynamic is inherently unequal.
And I felt like, okay, her family was very abusive, both emotionally and physically, but I felt his was very manipulative. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to tell you it's your choice, but if you want to live, you still have to do this.
Yeah, or it's like, well, a willing sacrifice is best.
Yeah.
It's like, well, me living means you have to succeed. So even if you're being selfish, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, I don't think she ever felt like she had a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, she tried to convince herself, it seemed that she did. And she didn't want to be like a damsel in distress, so she wanted to say this was her choice and her doing. And she was going to try to be the hero. But I'm not sure how you can do that willingly when you're dying because of him.
Yeah. And because she didn't choose to become, like, handcuffs to a death god either.
No. And I don't think the alternative of cut your arm off.
Cut your hand off.
If you want to leave. Because then the bone shard would be no longer affected. I'm not sure that was a great solution.
Wait, we've read 2 books in a row where, like, getting your hand cut off is an option / something that happens.
That's funny. We like themes.
That's a choice.
I guess so. So yeah, their dynamic was very unsettling. And I mean, as you keep going and he struggles with becoming more human, it did get better.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of was more empathetic, as you said, and compassionate, and could kind of see her side. And then towards the end was much more on her side, all of a sudden. But we'll talk about that later. So yeah, definitely different dynamics. But I think it's that whole, like, God attitude, the arrogance, I guess.
Yeah.
We're supposed to chalk it up to that, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like the first few chapters of the plot, it gets going because she gets like dragged along with it. Mm-hmm. And it just, I don't know, I've read books like that before. It's like the female character is always like reacting to everything that's happening and then doesn't really do anything on her own. Mm-hmm. Like this one changed and we get more of her like personality and her choices and that shape the plot. Mm-hmm. But this one didn't necessarily start that way. And I don't know, it's just...
Yeah, maybe she found herself more as she kept going? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, and also, like, I guess that their dynamic becomes... more even because he gets weaker.
Yeah, I would say because he becomes more human and becomes
Yeah.
more understanding to her plight, I think. Yes, I agree that it does kind of start, their dynamic starts like this, and then it slowly kind of goes like that.
Yeah. Yeah. As
we keep going. Yeah. Okay. What do you want to talk about anything else about dynamics before we keep going? Okie dokie. So, do we just want to
talk about the setting?
Oh, we can talk about setting. That sounds better than jumping to the end already.
There was like 350 pages that we could have just skipped over if we had jumped to the
That's
end.
true. That is true.
But the setting, it's like 1920s in Mexico. And what'd you feel about the setting?
I didn't always remember it was 1920.
Yeah, me neither.
It felt very contemporary. Mm-hmm. I mean, although she keeps talking about how, like, one of her big life goals is to ride in an automobile.
To drive one.
Yeah, drive one. Which I thought that was kind of a cool life goal. That and what? Swimming in the ocean at night.
Swimming in the ocean at night, dancing fast.
Be dancing fast, yeah.
Not counting stars.
And I mean, all of those dreams felt very 1920s for, like, a female person. Like, I could see wanting all those things because you're trying to come out of all of the restrictions that your life had and finally find your way to do that. So that part I liked. But she didn't really have a lot of 1920s vernacular in it, which was maybe okay, but at the same time, I forgot a lot.
There wasn't a lot of vernacular used. There was a lot. It was more in like art styles and architecture.
Yeah, because we talk about like Art Deco a lot.
Yeah, and like styles of clothing that the characters wear.
The short hair, right?
The
flapper dresses.
Flappers were mentioned a lot.
Mm-hmm. And talking about how America was becoming more of the culture they were looking towards.
Yeah, and like the revolution. So they talk. There's like history, albeit it probably would have been more convincing if I was more familiar with that history.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But I don't remember much of it from high school.
Although she does say in her notes, don't take this as an accurate anthology or history.
Yeah.
This is still a fantasy. So I appreciated that because I was like, yep, that's a good point.
It did feel a little bit to me like Percy Jackson and how there's gods running around in your modern world. See, again, I kept forgetting it wasn't entirely modern.
Right.
It's like 1920s and you have gods running around, but you have like your demon who's holed up in like a 2-story apartment or whatever. So it felt very like Percy Jackson in that sense and how mythology is like interacting with the human world, which I did enjoy because I do like those books a lot. So I did like that, but the time period of the setting, it didn't feel super 1920s to me, but also I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it, although it was hyped up to be this great 1920s.
It even kind of has that look
era,
sort of.
And I didn't really feel like that needed to be addressed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get a touch of it, but it's not centered around that at all.
Yeah, she calls the movies the talkies at one point, and it kind of threw me off. I was like, whoa, like I know what it is, but I was expecting you to say movies.
Well, and since she didn't really ever use any other slang from the 20s, I can see where that would have been like, aside from, again, saying automobiles with, like, that starry-eyed attitude.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really notice much of the lingo.
I didn't think I was like, oh, okay, you want to drive a car. Like, cool.
Yeah.
It didn't, like, stand out to me as like, oh, that would be a dream.
Only because she kept saying automobile.
That didn't even hit me. I was just like, okay, another word for car.
That's funny. Okay, anything else on setting?
No, I'm good.
So the other thing that I really liked on this was how they discussed their gods coming into being. I thought that was a very interesting take on mythology, where it was you had to have a person who has come up with this idea of a god, and then you had to have the energy, and then the god was created. It wasn't just like, bam, god, now people.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. And that they said, gods were very limited on what they were allowed to do. They could only walk at night. They could only make suggestions and reward the humans.
Yeah.
Whereas humans still had their free will. Yeah, and I liked that stuff.
They couldn't mess with humans directly. They couldn't mess with each other directly.
Hence, they needed their human pawns.
Like, certain kinds of sacrifices were better than others. Like, the mythology and folklore behind this was
really neat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about, well, Cassiopeia, like, talks about, like, stories she read as a child, and, like, are these real? Like, I'm walking next to a real death god. How real are the stories I learned?
Which I was like, pretty real. You're by a death god.
Yeah, so there was some interaction between, like, myth and reality, and then, like, they talk about, like, words having power, or, like, symbolism is important.
Yeah, they talk about symbolism a lot. That was very in your face.
It wasn't very symbolic.
No. I also liked the whole, we have to have humans to feel worshipped. Like, it was all very symbiotic relationships. Like, I have to have you to get this, and you have to have me to get that. I liked that part, too.
And they're very tied to one place. So it was interesting because when they were talking about that, it seemed like they were talking about, like, other belief systems throughout the world that they all were tied to one place.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, like, that's interesting an interesting way to build your world, that it is very, like, focused here, but you're still, like, making allusions to other places, and they could work the same way.
Right. And then on top of that, you had this folklore mythology battling out with Catholicism as her upbringing.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was an interesting internal debate that she kept having. Like, the priest says this, but now I'm here doing this.
I need to say, like, 500 Hail Marys at this point.
Yep. Yeah, right. That was funny. So that was an interesting, like, dilemma for her, and as she kept going. I'm not sure where she ended up falling at the end of that.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like she wasn't so maybe in favor of Catholicism by...
It didn't seem like she was that in favor of it to begin with
No.
either. And then just, there were more pressing sources of power in her life.
Right, and how can you really, like, dispute an actual death god standing in front of you?
Who's telling you you're going to die if you don't, like, get on the road tomorrow.
Yeah. Right, so let's go.
Speaking of the road, should we jump to the end? It was our favorite part of the book.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well jump right there. We can come back and if we want to hit anything else.
Yeah, we might find other things.
So at the end, the Cassiopeia, we should probably have said that there were 2 death gods.
Yeah.
So our death god...
Aren't there, like, 12?
Okay, there probably were actually 12, but we're only dealing with 2. So spoilers from here. Hunkwame, our death god, and Cassiopeia are on their journey. But on the other side of that is his twin brother, Vukab-Kame, and her terrible, terrible cousin, Martine. And he's trying to basically kill his brother because he wants to continue ruling over.
Yeah, so Vukub, like, coup d'etat, I don't know, French, overthrew his brother.
I don't know, French.
And locked him in a trunk.
Right, in which we then opened.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's trying to continue keeping his power, but if Hunkwame gets his parts back, he will continue to rule over the underworld.
Well, he has to get...
Xibalba. Wait.
Xibalba. Yeah, he has to get his body parts back and then, like, somehow challenge his brother to, I don't know, a duel? I don't know.
Without swords and shields, because the gods can't do that.
Yeah, you know, challenge him as one does, and then whoever wins gets to behead the other, and then can rule. Because the gods can't die, so they get, like, beheaded and locked in trunks.
It's like a timeout for several centuries.
You're just kind of like there too. Or
pretty much. And so because they can't use sword and shield, they have to have a human pawn for each of them. And then the quest, or not the quest, but the task is whoever can travel the Black Road? Black Road, which is in Xibalba, which is basically Xibalba, which is basically the underworld, who can ever travel it the fastest and get to their palace and the Tree of Life, right?
Yeah.
Tree of Life wins.
Yeah, it's a race.
Yeah. However, her cousin was cheating and practicing.
Yeah, so her cousin got, like, tutoring ahead of time. The road also changes, and it's, if you get off the road, you, like,
You're
can
doomed.
lose it. And the road will, like, manipulate you into being, like, hopeless and despair, and plays a lot of mental games with you.
Yeah, the road was really cool, and you can travel in the shadows, which was really neat, because you can't really keep just walking this road. You'll never get there.
Or, like, she could tell the road where to take her. I did like that.
I did too.
Where she was, like needing to be imperious, and then she like remembered his tone as like something she had learned.
Yes, the intent behind it, right?
Yeah, it seemed like a way of, I don't know, it just felt good.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, he keeps telling us all along, Hunkame does, that she is getting his immortality. So
or his magic powers, at
right,
least.
and you never really see it till this point. So you were kind of like,
you see it with
finally.
like Shatabi, or like
when she used her voice
spirit.
there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you see it there a little bit.
Yeah, and it's all very voice driven, and the intent behind the words for that. I still would have liked to have seen more. As a side note, she should have got more abilities, considering how much she was giving up.
Yeah, because it seemed like there should be this flow both ways. Like he's becoming more human, and that was based in like a physical capacity and like an emotional capacity, and he was losing his memories of divinity.
Yeah.
So like in all aspects, he was becoming more human. But then she was just becoming more tired.
Yeah. She got nothing out of this, I'm telling you.
Well, it's like, when you mess with gods, are you going to get anything out of it?
I feel like I should, yes.
But they tell you the world isn't fair.
They do tell us that. I also really liked that his humanity was reflected in his eyes. How apropos was that? The soul of, or the window to your soul. I did like that part. Anyway, back to the Black Road. So that part was really neat. And she comes across all these weird creatures, which were all very helpful.
In a way, yeah, kind of. The snakes were cute.
Well, the snakes were cute, and then somebody else talked to her. A bird? Something else.
Is there a bird?
And then I loved that she gets really helpful creatures, and her cousin gets all, like, monkeys throwing rocks at him. I mean, that was karma.
Well, there was a giant blind bat that tried to attack her.
But the snakes helped her. It was fine.
They took her bracelet. They're like, give us your bracelet and we'll help you. And then they don't even help her that much. She
One
still has
worldly possession, yeah.
She has to give up her gourd of water.
Yeah, that's true. And I did think, because she gave up that water, and then when she got pushed off the Black Road, which you shouldn't do, and she's drinking the stream, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't drink nothing in the underworld.
Should be trapped down here.
That felt very Persephone moment there.
She even mentions like Hades and Persephone. I have beef with that myth, but it's a whole thing.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was totally thinking that she was fine. The water was fine.
Yeah, but it's like the dream she kept having.
Oh yeah, the blood and the world ending, more or less. Okay, but let's talk about what really bothered us with the end.
Should we talk about the stakes of like why they're doing this race?
Sure.
So if Cassiopeia and Kame win, he can defeat his brother and become king of, or supreme lord of the underworld again. And she gets to live, basically.
Yay, again!
And she'll get her heart's desire granted or whatever. And if Martine and Vukub Kame win, Hun Kame gets killed. Because Vukub
as does she, only like forever, over and over.
Or she
and
gets,
over.
what they say, like trapped in the room of
the razor something.
Yeah,
which is knives.
House of Razors.
Yeah, so these knives would constantly be flying at her.
Yeah,
awesome.
So like eternal punishment, basically.
Yep, totally what it was. And then Martine would get to continue living a luxurious life and being his slimy self.
Yeah, but he just wants to be like a luxurious life in a small town. He's not
he
even dreaming
is
that big.
a small fish in a small pond. Yeah, that's his life.
Fair.
So the stakes are pretty big for her. Well, and because of the whole state of the world. I guess we should say that too.
Oh, yeah, and if, like, Vukub wins, he's going to, like, revert the world to...
sacrificing, like
Mayan to, like,
style.
ancient times, basically, where there's, like, sacrifices all over the place.
Heads on stakes.
Yeah.
Water running with blood, yeah.
And Kame is not going to do that.
Because he doesn't care about humans. Except the one.
He's just like, yeah, they don't worship us anymore. It is what it is. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, so those were the stakes. The thing that bothered us, because they had to rush to this Tree of Life, and she gets pushed off the pass by her cousin.
It's called something other than the Tree of Life. I don't remember what it is.
It is, but I can't remember either. And then she decides, I can't let him win. And she basically slits her throat and pledges herself to Hunkame.
But he hasn't won. They haven't won yet. So I was really confused. I'm like, does this mean it's going to happen?
Well, and then I thought, how does this make him win? And I guess, yes, she won't have to have a terrible, terrible death over and over in the House of Razors. But then for some reason, whatever she did took her to the place she needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they win somehow. I'm still unclear on that too.
Well, because it seems, because there's, like in Shibaba, there's like the tree. I still can't find it. I had another thing besides Tree of Life, but it kind of functions like the Tree of Life.
It did have a different name, and I apologize that we don't know it because we should know it.
Yeah. But so the tree is like in a lake, from what I understand. There's a picture described, but it's Martine's perspective, and Martine isn't very bright. So there's a lake around it, and there's like a giant caiman in the lake. It was like the first caiman. Mm-hmm. So she's been having this dream about a lake too, and I guess they're the same one.
I think so. I'm not sure how she was getting these prophecies, but
me neither.
Because he did not have the gift for prophecy, her god.
Yeah. Oh, but they say something about that humans can like traverse Shibaba in their dreams.
Oh, well, that's good then.
Yeah, they mention it once.
Okay, only way she was going to make it out of this thing.
Yeah. So, how we think she, like, falls in the lake because she's dead.
Yep.
And somehow gets to the tree that way.
I'm wondering...
Does the caiman bring her to the tree? Because the caiman has her, like, in his mouth, and he's like, "What? Here's your champion."
And I wondered if it was because of the intent of her words of pledging herself to the rightful Shibaba god, death god. Mm-hmm. If that's because she sacrificed herself, which we need sacrifices here. I didn't know if that was why she made it there. That was the only thing I can come up with, truly. Aside from maybe the caiman taking her. But then I feel like he only came because she made the sacrifice to the correct, death god.
Yeah, because even the snakes were like, oh, Hunkame is our, like, rightful leader. Mm-hmm. He should be on the throne. Firstborn status and all. So the caiman could have also been following those rules.
I kind of felt like that.
But the caiman felt so much older and, like...
Well, he is, like, one of the oldest beings down there. He was not the one beheaded, though, either, right? And there's a whole thing on caimans in the glossary, but I was going to see what it was. I'm sorry, I'm borrowing your book.
Go for it. Beheaded? Did we have someone besides Hunkame being beheaded?
So Fukukame beheads a caiman, the big ancient, the first one we come across, in order to do a prophecy.
Oh yeah, I thought that was just like not the main one.
He acted like it was like an old one there when he talked about him. But maybe I got that confused and they were talking about different ones too. And then because they were in the underworld, people were resurrected all the time there.
The World Tree.
World Tree.
I knew it started with a W, but I'm like, whole is not right.
I knew it wasn't the Tree of Life. The World Tree. So she had to get to the World Tree. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like it was the intent of pledging herself and the actual, like, biggest sacrifice you can make that did it. I think that's how she won. The ultimate sacrifice. I'm going with it.
It's the clever solution.
Oh, yeah.
But it was...
Especially
did they not think of it before? I don't know.
That's a good point. But it had to be willingly done. So maybe they couldn't manipulate that into her free will.
That is a lot to ask of someone. Mm-hmm. Hey, cut your throat for me, and you'll probably be okay.
Right? Like, probably. And then I also wondered, too, if it was that Martine just wasn't worthy. Like, I felt like the city itself was almost making... Because he was so close to the World Tree. Mm-hmm. He was so close to that Jade Palace. But it seemed like the roads kept misleading him.
Yeah, they didn't want him there.
So he would go into weird alleys instead of the road he thought he was on. So it slowed him down and gave her the time to do that. So I didn't know if Shibaba just chose her, more or less. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we were unclear of the ending.
Yeah.
So let us know what you guys think the ending is about, because we need to know.
Is there anything else you want to say about the ending?
I enjoyed that she drove off into the sunset with the demon, because he was my favorite character, because he was funny. Mm-hmm. And I hope they went to New Orleans. That was where I felt they needed to head.
Yeah. Give me his name. It starts with an L, doesn't it?
Oh, Lore or...
Yeah. I cannot remember names for this novel. This is not typical. don't know where it is.
It was like Lorya or something. It was like Lorya. Or something.
Oh, that's a part of a different book. That's why none of the words make sense.
Oh, although I do want to read her
Lorya.
upcoming. Lorya.
Yeah.
I want to read her upcoming book as well. I mean, I overall liked this book, and I will
Yeah,
read
me
another
too.
book by her. I think I just needed it to be a little bit longer and maybe more characters.
And not like a straightforward quest.
Yeah, more obstacles. And I don't think that anyone would read this thinking love story. Did you ever feel like that?
Not really.
I didn't
I feel like
either.
sometimes we were supposed to believe it's a love story.
Me too.
And there are like romantic moments, but it's not the main draw of the book.
Well, and I don't think either character ever really felt that was an option.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants to be a god. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And if he stayed human, I don't think she could live. So, anyway, there was people saying that they thought it was going to be a love story.
Oh.
And I was like, I didn't get that at all. No.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah,
It didn't feel like that at all.
It didn't feel like that at all. I didn't also necessarily want it to be.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
No. Didn't ever think that was an option. Any other thoughts that you had?
No, I did like it.
Mhm.
I just feel bad saying that it wasn't like life changing when I want to be like, yeah, I did like it. There's beautiful moments in this book.
And some of the descriptions were amazing.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see more of that carnival. I think that would have been really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think that was sort of the point of the book, though, too, because Cassiopeia even says, I want to really explore Mexico City, but I am a bystander, and I just have to sit here and do my part. And I kind of felt like that was what we as a reader got to do as well.
I wanted more of like Xibalba. I wanted more like adventures down there.
And I wanted her to have more magical gifts.
Yeah.
I need more magic in my fantasy, evidently. Anyway, we still liked it.
We did like it.
So you should still read it.
Yeah.
What are you reading next week?
We are reading The Silence of Bones, which I started last night. It is set in like Joseon era Korea, so it's around 1800.
Nice.
And it's a murder mystery. A noble woman has been killed, and well, we have to find out why.
Right. So it's a historical murder mystery.
Mhm.
It's young adult.
Yeah, it is young adult.
Yeah, it'll be a nice change of pace from what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
I started it last night. I have read 24 pages.
Oh, that's good.
I'm liking it so far.
Good.
Yeah, I really liked. Also, it's like around one of the languages I'm learning, so that's always fun.
Right, we get Korean lessons next week. It'll be fun.
We get Jennifer probably knowing how to pronounce all the vowels.
That'll be good, because I won't know how to pronounce any of them. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you reading anything else right now?
No, I'm still reading the Kingdom
of Copper.
Yep, Kingdom of Copper.
I'm starting that one soon too.
I'm liking it. It was a different. I think that part of my issue with this too is that I was reading that one and was very immersed into that world, and then I switched over to this one, and they're similar but very different, obviously. Yeah. But it's that type of fantasy where I maybe just needed a larger pause.
You'd also read a whole book you'd already read The City of Brass, so you've already read a book in that
so
world.
It was so easy to get sucked right back in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you had more of the backstory and like extra content that you wanted.
That is all there. And then the pacing, because I've already read that other one, was like, let's get going immediately into that second book. So I was already like ready for a fast pace, and this just didn't quite have that pacing.
Yeah.
It was still good. Not saying it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm planning to finish that one hopefully someday soon.
You'll get there. It's a long book.
It's a long book. All right, I think that concludes our lovely book chat this evening, and we hope to see you all again next week.
Discuss murder again.
Is it? It's in Korea. No, never mind. Okay, it'll be good. All right, bye.